We're learning Shabbat Beis Hamikdash immediately, and for Shleima for Yechiel, Nasan, and Sarah, Aaron David Alevi, and Menucha the Lester. Okay, well, we're going to start Yud Gimel Amud Aleph on the bottom. The last word, Mesve. Yes, if you can remember that, we're starting on the top of Yud Gimel Amud Beis. So what happened over here? We had a statement from Rafram Bar Papa Amar of Chizda. Oh, they took it out. I forgot to look that up. It's Rav Chizda's statement that anyone that's in anything that has to do with Avelis, you're not allowed to bathe in hot water or in cold water. And if it's a Taanis, then it's only hot water. It's because of pleasure, it's only hot water, but cold water you're allowed to bathe. Then on the bottom of the page, we said, Rava says that even an avel is allowed to wash in cold water, just like an avel is allowed to eat meat and drink wine. Now the Gemara has a question. It says, Meisve. If a girl's father is sitting Shiva, or if a girl is sitting Shiva for her father, so she should not make herself unattractive by not bathing. She should bathe. Why? She's a begeres. She's already 12 and a half. She's marriageable age. We wanted to be able to get married, so we don't want to turn people off by not looking nice. Hanara. But let's say she's not really marriageable age. She's only 12. She's not 12 and a half yet. So she's already chayiv in the laws of Avelis. The ain't Avelis the cotton or Ktana. If she would be under 12, then there would be no Avelis. So she's 12 already. So there is Avelis. So Hanaira is Rasha. She is allowed, it's an interesting expression, she is allowed to not bathe because she doesn't need to attract a spouse. So to be attractive to a spouse. Now Rasha, my love, we must be talking about bathing. Ubamai, what type of bathing? If we say we're dealing with hot water, a begeres Rasha, a begeres, a girl that's 12 and a half, so she's not allowed to refrain from bathing. Rav Chizda says that she's not allowed to put, an oval is not allowed to put even his finger in hot water. It can't be that she's allowed to bathe in hot water. Elalav b'tzainen. It must be that we're dealing with cold water. She has to bathe in cold water. And the Naira should not bathe in cold water. It's a kashan Rava. Rava said that cold water is mutter. Umar says, La akichol perchus. This whole question was all based on an assumption that she's supposed to look attractive. So we said, oh, that must mean that she's supposed to bathe. It turns out it wasn't referring to bathing. It was talking about painting the eyes and dyeing the hair. Perchus is dyeing the hair. I don't know what they would dye the hair back then. A girl dyeing her hair. Making it blonde. Okay. Lema Messiah. Let's bring a raya to this, a support. The Amar of Abba Kayan Mishim Rab Yossi Kayan. Abba Kayan says the name of Rab Yossi Kayan, Maisa Banav Shal Rab Yossi Bar Chanina. We had a story yesterday. There was the sons of Rab Yossi Bar Chanina passed away. Varachatz B'tzainin Kol Shiva. You see, he washed in cold. He took a cold shower, a cold bath for all 7 days of Avelis. The Gemara said, you see, that's a proof to Rava, because Rava holds that a novel is allowed to bathe in cold water. The Gemara says, Amri, they said that Hasam b'shetakfu avelav ze'achar zeh, but it was a little different. You can't bring a proof from that, because there one child passed away immediately after the next one. So right when he gets up from Avelis, he has another Shiva. So if that's the case, the Tanya was taught in the Brisa, takfu avelav ze'achar zeh, that if there is a scenario like that where the avelis is one after the other, then hichbit zayrai, make a batar. If his hair is starting to get heavy, you can make it lighter with the razor. Machabes ksusa b'mayim, and you can even wash his clothing. And Amar Rav Chizda batar avalei mispraim, you have to do it with some sort of change. You have to use a razor to cut the hair, not a scissors. It's not shaving the head, he's just cutting it. Scissors would be more convenient, but no, you have to use a razor. Machabes ksusa b'mayim, and I'm sorry, b'mayim is v'lei b'net v'lei b'chol v'lei b'oil. You can't use netter, which is a type of soap. V'lei b'chol is sand. V'lei b'oil is another type of soap, probably aloe. You can't use soaps, laundry detergent when he does that. Okay, so what we just learned was that Rava says that a oval is allowed to take a bath in cold water. We thought we had a support for it. We really don't have a support for it from Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina's story, because that was a special case where it was an avela consecutive, and then you could have certain leniencies. Okay. What, oil? Yeah, I think it's aloe. I think we had that before. I don't know. He probably would have it. Does he say what oil is? No, he says it's an ice plant. He says it's an ice plant. Oil is an ice plant, he says.
Soda.
There's one in the berries?
Soda.
Oh. Oh, really? Well, Jonathan, where are you? You're in a shul in
Can you hear me?
yeah.
I'm at my parents'.
Oh wow. Wow, it looks
Yeah.
like you're in a show. Beautiful.
No, thanks.
Okay. Okay. Oh, we have a picture of a plant.
I'm sorry. This plant contains a
Oh.
considerable amount of soda,
Yeah.
which is used for laundry and bathing.
This is a picture of the ice plant. Wow, that's very pretty.
What's it called?
Yeah, let me hold it up.
Ice. Ice.
See that? The flowers coming out of the
Yeah, this is your house.
wow, that's really something. So apparently that would be good for laundry. Yeah, you can make your own laundry detergent, by the way.
Yeah, let's get it.
Do you use your own, or you get from the store?
Who washes?
Who washes, right? Uh-huh. Okay. That was a statement of Rava that an oval is allowed to wash in cold. However, Ikad Amri, there's another version of this, of what Rava says. Amar Rava, oval aser b'tzeinin kol shiv, exactly the opposite. An oval is not allowed to wash, even in cold water, for 7 days. Now the Gemara has a question. Maishnami basar v'yayin. You said that it was just like in the first version of this. You said that just like an oval is allowed to eat meat and drink wine for the 7 days, it's only an einin that's not allowed to eat meat and drink wine, that which is before the kfura. Once the nistam agailal, once it's buried, once the body is buried, then he becomes mutter and basar v'yayin. So we thought that would correlate with being allowed to bathe in cold water. It says Maishnan basar v'yayin. The Gemara says Hasam lefuchuchei pachtehu David. We allow him to have meat and wine is because we want to relieve his anxiety. So we give him wine, be able to eat, but not for enjoyment of like bathing enjoyment of bathing. So that's still usher. To bathe is still usher, even in cold water. Yeah. Lema Messiah. Let's bring a proof. Ina Bageres Roshel Navala Atzma. The Bageres is not allowed to make herself look unattractive. Hanara Rasha. But if she's not a Bageres, she's not 12 and a half, she's only 12 years old. So she would be allowed to. And what are we talking about? B'mai, what are we dealing with? Ilema b'chamen, if we're dealing with hot water, Zaina Bageres Rasha is she's allowed to, means that she doesn't bathe. If it's hot water, Aina Bageres Rasha, that the Bageres has to bathe. Rav Chisda says, but you can't use hot water. So it must be Elalav B'tzainin. It must be that we're dealing with cold water. Dealing with cold water, this is a proof that a Bageres is supposed to bathe in cold water, and Naira is not supposed to bathe. It's a proof to Rava that a novel is not supposed to bathe in cold water. Gemara says it's no proof. Loi akichel pirchas. We're dealing with painting the eyes and dyeing the hair, and it's actually not telling me anything about bathing. Amar Rav Chisda Zeise Meres Avalaser B'Tachpeises Kol Sheva. This tells me that an aval is not allowed to bathe. It's not allowed to do laundry. How exactly does this tell it to me? Rashi over here says that if you're not allowed to paint the eyes and dye the hair, you're also not allowed to wash the clothes. Yeah. Kiveger has some big questions on this piece. I looked in the Professor Malter's version, and it's not in the text. Oh, this Amar of Chisda isn't in it. Maybe it's put somewhere else, but in this location it wasn't there. Okay, v'hilchasa. When the Gemara says v'hilchasa, it's assumed that it's not from the Amiraim. It's assumed from the Gainim. That's what they think. Yeah. Sometimes v'hilchasa goes in brackets even. Anyway, it got it. The guy. Yeah, that's what we think. I don't know. And at least in other places, you even have Taisvis on the side that says Einzem, and this is added from the Gainim. Sometimes the Sheil Tais or something. The Hilchasa, the halacha is Aval Aser Lirchaitz Kol Gufay Bein Bechamen Bein Betzainin Kol Shiva. An Aval is not allowed to wash his full body, whether hot water or cold water, for all 7 days. Hands, face, and feet is only aser in hot water, but he can use cold water. Aval lasach, but to put on ointments like oils, I feel a kol aser. That's always aser, even a drop. But if he's using it as a soap to get off some dirt, so then that would be allowed. Okay. An aval doesn't bathe. Yeah. The prayer of the Taanis. Where do we mention it? That's talking about Anenu. Where is Anenu position? You know, this is very interesting because the Chazan puts it in a different place than everyone else does. Everyone else says Anenu and Shemei Tefillah, and the Chazan has its separate bracha in between Gal Yisrael and Rifa'enu. It has a separate bracha there. I remember the first time I davened after my bar mitzvah. My bar mitzvah is on the 6th. My birthday is the 16th of Tammuz. My bar mitzvah was the 17th. So it was in the Chabad house in Rhode Island. At that time they had a young rabbi there. His name was Merazov, one of the Merazovs. Anyway, so he tells me, he's a very knowledgeable guy. He says he said when you're in your private Shemon Esrei, you say Anenu and Shemei Tefillah. When you repeat the Shemon Esrei, you say it over here in Gal Yisrael. If you forget it in the repetition, then say it by Shemei Tefillah. So I missed it. and so I started to say it by Shemir Tefillah because he taught it to me he taught me all the halachas like the first time. Usually, you have to learn that. Anyway, so then people stopped me. No, the Chazan doesn't say it. I said, no, I forgot it. I'm like in the middle of Shemon essay trying to motion. So anyway, okay. So Ad Berei Rabbi Yehuda le Rabbi Yitzchak Berei V'darash. Rabbi Yehuda gave permission to Rabbi Yitzchak his son to teach Yachid Shekibel of Taanis Mispal Shel Taanis. If a private person accepts on himself, an individual accepts on himself a fast, he says Aneinu. Behechan Amra, and where does he say it? In Goyal L'Roife. He says it at that place where, for us, that's where the Chazan says it. It's a bracha b'fnei atzma. Gets its own Baruch Atah Hashem Shemir Tefillah, right? It finishes off. Maskefla Rabbi Yitzchak is the one that's talking. He's challenging his own teaching. He says, V'chiyachid kaiveya bracha la'atzma. Does an individual get his own bracha? It's impossible. Ella Amar Rabbi Yitzchak b'Shemir Tefillah. It has to be that he says it, he inserts it in Shemir Tefillah. In Shemir Tefillah, you can insert whatever you want. You could say any prayer that you want to add for anything. My sports team should win. Shemir Tefillah, you could add any prayer that you want. So you can also add Aneinu. V'chein Amar Rav Sheshes b'Shemir Tefillah. That's where he says it. He's a private person. Meisvei, the Gemara has a question. Ein ben yachad l'tzibar, el shezem espal shmin esrei, v'zem espal teish esrei. What's the difference between an individual and the community? The individual says 17 brachas, and the community says the individual says 18 brachas, and the community says 19 brachas. Why is it 19 brachas? Ignoring V'la Mashinim. Because of Aneinu. It's an extra bracha. Yeah. My yachid, my tzibur. What do you mean yachid? What do you mean tzibur? Are we referring to a private person in his own Shemon Esrei? And when we say tzibur, we're referring to the Chazan. Hani Teish Esrei. The Chazan only says 19. Esrim V'Arba'a Havi. On those fast days that we're referring to now, the fast days for rain, there's an extra 6 brachos that the Gemara is going to tell me, the Mishnah is going to tell me later that get added in. There's actually 24 blessings. So what are you telling me, 19? It must be Yalalav Hachikamer. Ein bein yachid the kibul of Taanis yachid, liyachid kibul of Taanis tzibur. And a private person can accept on himself one level fast of a private fast, and he can also accept on himself a community fast, another level, like we mentioned before, that he can accept on himself such a level where he's not allowed to wear shoes. So if he accepts on himself a Taanis tzibur, el shezem espal shmin esrei, v'zem espal teish esrei. And it must be that this one, if he accepts on himself a private fast, then he only says 18 brachas, which means he puts Aneinu in Shemir Tefillah. And if he accepts on himself a community fast where he wouldn't be allowed to wear shoes, then he would say Aneinu as a separate bracha. The Chazan. Baruch Atah Hashem, Shemir Tefillah.
Yeah, it's the same Shemay Tefillah. Just ask to have Shemay Tefillah.
So he has a separate bracha. He has
ask to Shema Kelenu.
no.
There's no actual bracha here.
Look at Rifa'inu.
Rifa'inu.
Look right before Rifa'inu.
Oh, is this Aneinu?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it's the same Aneinu. It's just the question is if it's the Chazan of the. So we're asking, can a private person say that Aneinu is not the Chazan? Comes out that we're saying now that yes, if he accepted on himself a Taanis tzibur, he would. He would have it. Gemara says lie. The way that you got to this was because you said that if it would really be a shliach tzibur, there should have been 24 brachas, and that's what led you to compelled us to say that we're not dealing with the shliach tzibur. Turns out, liyolamei malach shliach tzibur, we're dealing with the shliach tzibur. The kakashalach shliach tzibur esrim va'arba matzlei. You had a question based on a Mishnah later that the shliach tzibur, the chazan, has to say 24 brachas. That's only in the later fasts. The gimel taanis rishonos, telek esrim v'arba. The early fast, in other words, remember there was a set of 3 fasts. That started in the morning. Then there was another set of 3 fasts. Forget when they started. And then there was another set of 6 fasts. So in the later fast, you have to say 24 brachas. But in the early fast, you don't have to. So we're talking about the chazan, and we're talking about the early fast. And over there we say that there's 19 brachas. Umar says, V'lai, those early fasts, you don't have to say those extra 6 brachas that the Mishnah is going to go through later on. But ein bein ktani. Over there it says that we have a Mishnah that says that there's no difference between these fasts and those fasts except for this and that. Ein bein gimel rishonis legimel emtzos. There's no difference between the first 3 fasts and the second 3 fasts. The first 3 fasts where you're allowed to do work. The second 3 fasts you are not allowed to do work. What does that mean? Must mean when you say the only difference between them is, that means that that's the only difference. When it comes to the extra brachas that you're adding in, they must be the same, or else you would have said. Yeah, that's what we assume. We assume. So the way to get out of this is Tana v'Shayir. The Gemara says that when we said the Ein Bein, what we really meant was that this is only one difference, but we have other differences as well that we're not mentioning. Now, if there's only one difference that we're not mentioning, then that would be questionable. But if we left out a bunch of things, then that would be okay. I was talking about one aspect over here, but so the term that the Gemara uses for such a expression is Tana v'Shayir. It left out other things. Usually the Gemara says, my shire, the high shire. What else did it leave out that it left out this one as well? That's what the Gemara does. Now, the Gemara does it here. My shire, the high shire. What did it leave out to tell me that it left out also that there's a difference between the tefillas, that the first ones there's only 19 brachas, right? It's the extra anenu, and or 18 brachas if it's an individual. And what did it leave out? V'su, and another thing is ein bein ktani. We don't want to do that by an ein bein. Ein bein means there's no difference, but. So ein bein, we don't want to say it's shaya. Elatana be'isuri kamari b'tfilas laimari. Rather, what we can do is like this. We can say isuri kamari, that we're dealing with just prohibitions. We weren't dealing with the tfilas. Yeah. Is that good?
I mean, I'm just trying to see the difference between the early fast and the later fast. I didn't know that there was an extra 4 blessings in this other fast. Is that like the Yom Kippur section? I mean, I see.
Because we don't do it in, we don't say those extra blessings nowadays because we don't do those fasts nowadays.
Oh, I see. Okay.
These are special fasts that are done in the streets for rain, praying in the streets, special fasts.
So you won't see them in a sitter.
So in a sitter, you're not going to have those extra blessings. But if you do, turn ahead to page Tesvav, page 15 in the Gemara. Over here, you're going to see in this big Mishnah a whole bunch of extra blessings.
I see. Wow.
Yeah, it's a nice long Mishnah. So in there, you have those extra blessings. Okay, so where are we holding right now? We're saying that the fact that it says that there's no difference between the first fast and the second fast is only the only difference is work. That's not referring to the tefillas, and it could be that there's a difference in the tefillas as well. If that's the case, then we can also say that we're dealing with the chazan. That the chazan over there is only says 19 brachas, and the yachid says 18 brachas. Who knows where to position the anenu? Biba yasema. Another pshat could be you don't have a proof that the middle fast, in other words, there's 3, 3, and 6. There's 3 sets of fasts, right? The first set of 3, Bahab. There's a second set of 3, and then there's the 6th fast. We only know that in the 6th later fast, you have the 24 blessings. You have the extra 6 blessings. Was it 6 or 7? What was this? 7. 7. I'm sorry. It was 3, 3, and 7 fast. And in those 7 fasts, you have 6 brachas. You have the extra 6 brachas, but not in the middle set. The Gemara says, "V'loi," you don't have the extra brachas in the middle set. V'atanya, but we have another brisa. We're going to do the same thing again. Ein ben gimel shniyas l'sheva achraynas. There's no difference between the middle set of 3 and the last set of 7. But by the last set, we masriyan, we sound sounds like the shofar. We'll see soon. And you also close the stores. But for everything else, it's equal. That means that if on the last fast, the last set of 7, you do 24 brachas of Shemona Esrei, so then the middle ones you also do, because there was no difference except for the closing of the stores in the shofar. We'll say, well, we left out some other things, so don't worry about it. You can't say that because it says there's no difference, but it means it's the only thing, right? Betizbara, the Gemara says, do you really think ein bein dafka, that this concept of ein bein is literal? V'hashir teva, I'll prove it to you that ein bein is not really literal. Ein bein is the reference to there's no difference, but why? Because v'hashir teva, it left out that the teva, this means the ark, the box, was taken out into the street for the prayer service. That was done only on the last fast, on the last set of 7. So that means that there are differences between the last set of 7 and the 3. So ein bein cannot be precise, can't be exact. Imisham teva lav shira. The Gemara says, well, that's not a real proof, because the teva, that what they would take out the ark to the street for the prayer service in the street. Hanimili detzina. We're only talking about things that are done in private. The Mishnah is telling me what the difference is. Mili defarhesya, mili detzina katani, mili defarhesya like katani. Things that are done in public that the Mishnah didn't have to elaborate on. That everyone sees. We're only talking about things that maybe you might not notice. So that's what it was saying. So it comes out that ein bein is dafka. And we would have to say that the middle blessings, the middle fasts also have the 24 blessings, because it says ein bein. Amar Rav Sheshes says masnisin nami deka. The Mishnah is also precise. Yeah. No, just from the synagogue. Masnisin nami deka, because the ktani ma eli yaser salary shyness. You say the only advantage is that you have of the last fast is that you have the closing of the stores and they have the masriyan, which means the shofar. That means that for the prayers, if you were going to say anything extra on the last fast, then it would have been included in that. You didn't include anything else. It must mean that the middle fast and the last fast have the 24 blessings. So the second teretz doesn't work. You follow what's going on over here? We're looking for where does an individual put his anenu. So we said that a yachid only has 18 brachas, but a tzibur has 19 brachas. So we said, what does it mean a tzibur? If it's the chazan, then the chazan has 24 brachas. So we wanted to say, based on that it must mean that even a yachid says hanenu if he accepts on himself a taanis tzibur. And he would say hanenu as a separate bracha after Gal Yisrael, right? right before Rafeinu. He would say that separate. The Gemara says not necessarily. It could be we're dealing with the Chazan, and we're dealing with the first fast, because the first fast don't have the 24 brachas. So then we had a question on that. We said, but we have a Mishnah that says that there's no difference between the first fast and the second fast. In the second fast, you have the 24 brachas, and it doesn't say that that's one of the differences. So we said, well, we said maybe we were leaving something out. Gemara says, well, what else did it leave out? It says, well, it gave us an answer. It says we weren't talking about the prayers. We were just talking about what was prohibited. That was answer number one. That's an acceptable answer. Answer number two was that the second fast also don't have the 24 brachas. So we said, yeah, but there's no difference between the second fast and the third fast. And so in that we said that you can't answer that it left it out because it left out the teva as well and all of that. That's not a good answer. So we left off now that our second answer is really like, it's not an acceptable answer. And maybe you want to answer that, well, it just left it out. But it says ma'elu yaser sal rishonos, that these are extra. B'tizbra ma'elu dafkahu. Do you want to say that what's the advantage of the third fast over the second fast is specific? Bashir teva, but it left out the teva, so it's not dafka. It can't be specific. Imishum teva lap shiuru, but that's not a reason. We say mishum dekachoshav le'bidach pirka, because we talk about it later on in another parak. So that's not a reason to consider it being left out. In other words, if we're going to leave out a detail, then we need to have more than one detail being left out. They say, well, we have another detail that's being left out. That detail is the teva. So he says, well, that's not even considered left out because we're going to talk about it later. We weren't discussing that. And it says, whoa, now you're talking. Now you're giving me an answer. I can go back and I can answer everything. Hashta dasas lahachi. If you're going to ever tell me that the reason why you didn't mention it is because you're going to mention it later, so now you've resolved all of my questions. So the whole premise of this problem was because you said that you never mentioned that there's a difference about the 24 blessings. And I know that they're in the last one. That means they must be in the middle one. That means they must be in the first one because you never mentioned that that's a difference. But it says, but if you're going to say that because you said it later, you don't have to say that, then the whole question falls off. It says it later. So it could be that really the first set of fast, you don't have the 24 blessings. The second set of fast, you don't have the 24 blessings. And it's only in the third one. My Havi Allah, what's the maskana? What's the end of this discussion? Amar Rav Shmuel bar Sasartoi, B'chinam Rav Chia Barashi, Amar Rav, Ben Goyel L'Reife. You say it in between a yachid. It says it in between Goyel Yisrael, in between Goyel Yisrael and Rafein. Rav Ashi Amar Mishmei Rav Yanai Berei Rav Yishmael B'Shemei Tefillah. Rav Ashi says that you say it in Shemei Tefillah. The halacha is that you say it in Shemei Tefillah. Okay, we jumped over there many generations from Rav to Rav Ashi, but Rav Ashi gets the halacha. Yeah. Tani Chada, we have one brisa that says, there's a new piece of Gemara. Uberes minikais misanis birishayna vein misanis bachrayna. First brisa says that if a pregnant woman or a nursing mother, they don't fast the first fast. I'm sorry, they fast the first fast. First brisa says they fast the first fast, but they don't fast the last fast. One second, let's take a look. Tanya Yidach, we're going to have three brises. Tanya Yidach, there's another brisa that says Mesanis Bachreinis, Vein Mesanis Perishanis. Only fast the last ones, not the first ones. Now we have a third brisa. A third brisa that says, Ein mesanis lo b'rishonos v'lo b'achronos. By the way, there are only two rabbis that said these three opinions. I'm kidding. That says you don't fast the first ones, you don't fast the last ones, only the middle ones, right? Not the first ones, not the last ones. Ravashi says, Ravashi says they should just fast the middle ones because that resolves both brises and actually all the brises. Why? First brisa says they only fast the first one, not the second one. It's talking about drop the first fast. There's 3 sets, right? Drop the first one. We're not talking about that. They only fast the first, which means the middle. First to the second, first to the third. It's the middle, right? Without the first one, it's if you ignore the first one, right? The second brisa says they only fast the first one, not they only fast the second one, not. There's 3 sets of fast. 3, 3, and 7. Where if it doesn't rain on the 17th of Cheshvan and then on Rosh Chodesh Kislev and those fast. So there's 3 sets. So the second brisa that says that they fast the last ones but not the first ones is referring to the first 2 sets of 3. They only fast the second set of 3, not the first one. And the third brisa that says you don't fast the first one, you don't fast the last one. Fine, you fast the middle. So the middle one resolves all of them. Right? All the brises could be answered just like that. Yeah. I was one time looking at the test scores in one of the schools. The students were coming in, whatever. So something was wrong with the averages. Something didn't match up. So I asked the teacher that was doing it. He said, yeah, so this student didn't count because he's like not really part of it. And this student didn't count. And also we didn't count the first test because it was just the first, if you take away everything that messes up your your averages, then you come out. Yeah. Yeah, that's how it works. Okay. So it's not how it works. No, it's not how that.
All the students are above average.
Yeah, all the students are above average, right? Yeah. Okay.
You know what they say, you know what you call the guy who graduated last in the medical school class, doctor.
Okay. Ma elu yaser salary shyness. We said, what are these more significant than the first fasts? That in these last fasts, we have to sound the shofar. That's what it sounds like, right? Sound the shofar, masriyan. And you also close the stores. But my masriyan, when it says that you're masriyan, what does it mean masriyan? With what are you masriyan? Masriyan means a trua. Sound the alarm. Rav Yehuda Amar b'shofars. Rav Yehuda says that you blow the shofar. Okay, that's what we thought. Rav Yehuda Breder Rav Shmuel Bar Shelas Mishmei Derav Amar Ba'anenu. He says no. Masriyan doesn't mean a shofar. Masriyan means we cry out. We cry out for help with anenu. Now anenu over here doesn't mean the anenu that we were just talking about. Anenu means the anenu that we say in the slichas. Yeah, the Moshe Kasavitsky anenu. That's a famous piece, anenu. So that anenu, that Kasalka Daita, Manda Amar Ba'anenu, Le Amar B'Shofars. Manda Amar B'Shofars, Le Amar Ba'anenu. We think that it's mutually exclusive. There's 2 Rav Yehudas here, by the way. It's a little confusing. One is Rav Yehuda. He says shofars. Another one is Rav Yehuda Breder of Shmuel Bar Shelas Mishmei Derav. They're both Rav Yehuda, but one is Rav Yehuda Bar Yecheskel, is the famous Rav Yehuda, the student of Rav. So he says shayfris. Plain Rav Yehuda is shayfris. And then this long one, Rav Yehuda Breder of Shmuel Bar Shelas Mishmei Derav, he says that it's Anenu. Now each one only holds what they hold, and the other one they don't hold of. The one that says shayfer doesn't hold of Anenu. The one that says Anenu doesn't hold that too. They do the shayfers. V'hatanya, if that's the case, that's an assumption. V'hatanya, ein peichsu misheva tanya salat tzibur. You don't have less than 7 fasts. Shabahan, the Gra switches this from Yud Ches to Chaf Aleph. That in them you have 18 Shabahan Yud Ches Asrais. You have 18 soundings of the shofar. So far we don't know what that means yet. But with similar Dav Yerichai, if you want to remember, it's Yerichai. Why? Because by Yerichai they sounded the shofar 7 times, right? And then the last time it fell, the wall fell when they were conquering Yerichai. So was it 7 times or something? Anyway, it would make sense if it's 21. The Gross Gersa would fit much better. The Yerichai Shayfers Habra. In the Yerichai they use Shayfers. And what it would mean was like this, that Tkiya, true Tkiya, 7 times. It's 21. What's the pshat in our Gemara? The pshat in our Gemara is like this. True Tkiya is 3. And then you have 6 extra brachas. So 3 times 6 is 18. It's not the Yerichai 21. It's just a comparison to shayfer that they use the shayfer. You have 6 extra brachas because from 18 to 24 is you have 6 extra brachas, right? That's what the Mishnah later on is going to tell us. So in those extra brachas, they've sounded the shayfer. Now this is a question. Tiyufta l'mandamar b'anenu. It's a question on the one that says that they only did anenu. Ela b'shayfers to kuli alma pligi the kari asra. Everyone agrees that shayfers is called asra. Ki pligi b'anenu. The whole machlekes was it also, does it also mean anenu? Marsa v'kari asra, marsa v'kari asra. Question is that considered calling out, sounding the alarm when they shout anenu? Lamanda merba anenu, the one that says that it means anenu. Kolskin b'shayfers. I'm sorry, Daniel.
Oh, in Yericho, they blew the shofar and everybody screamed out. That was part of the.
Yeah,
is that
Bakal.
kind of?
Over there it says Bakal.
Yeah, I wonder if that's related here.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? Yeah, it's not mentioned. That's very interesting. Okay. So Lamanda Amar Banenu Kosken b'Shayfris. If it's Banenu, then for sure Shayfris. Lamanda Amar Shayfris have Banenu loy. But if it's Shayfris, then maybe not Anenu. Okay. V'hatanya, 1 second. We have a brisa that says like this: V'shar kol mini pranis ha'misragshes. Any sort of bad occurrences that happen, kagoyin chichuch, some sort of plague. I don't know what it is. What does it say over there?
It says scabs.
What is scabs?
Suffering from boils, ooze, pus.
Oh, okay. Boils. Chagav, that's locusts. Zvuv is flies. Tzira is some sort of bees, right?
Hornets.
I saw. I think I mentioned this. I saw in the Sansino Tanakh. Begamis atzira yishalach Hashem. Hashem is going to send the tzira. Yeah, and then it says at one point that the tzira came or something. Anyway, and in that there was an older version of the Sansino Tanakh that had Christian scholarship in it. And then it got in 1980 something, 81, 83, and they reprinted it, so they Judaicized the Sansino. So if you get the older one, you have all the old stuff. That's anyway. In that old one, it said that Tzira actually meant one of the nations. I think it was the Egypt, because on their shield they had a hornet. On the shield, there was a picture of a hornet, and what he was saying is, this commentary is that that Hashem's going to send the Egyptians to fight, and they were called the Tzira because of that. So anyway, the whoever published it says his comment was, it's too big of a chiddush. Okay, anyway, Tzira is a plague. The Yetushin, gnats or mosquitoes, Shiloch, Nechashim, Akravim, snakes and scorpions. Loi haya masriyan. They would not do hasra. They wouldn't do the this sort of sounding the alarm. We don't know what that is yet. Elatzayakin. They would only shout out. Now, midatzaika b'pas Rabbi Shayfus. We now have a translation that there's a difference between tzaka and hasra. Hasra means a shayfer. So it's a question on the one that says that hasra is anenu. Okay. The Gemara says Tanai. It's not so simple, because there's a machlekes Tanai. The Tanya ala elu masriyim b'Shabbos. On the following things, you're allowed to do hasra. You're allowed to sound the alarm on Shabbos. We don't know what that means, but al ir shekifu agayas. The city is surrounded by soldiers, so it's under siege. Einar val svina matrefes bayam. Or there's a river that's coming into the city. A flood, right? Or a sea, or a boat that's lost at sea. Rabbi Yisrael le'ezra avaloi letzaka. You're allowed to sound the alarm for help, but you're not allowed to sound the alarm for tefillah. B'mai. What does it mean? What are you doing? In other words, your hasra, are you calling to God? Or are you calling for other people to come and help? It's vague, right? It's unclear what the Gemara means, what this brisa means. We've had this before, I think, somewhere. So, if we say we're dealing with shayfris, and that's what we're talking about, we're calling for help. So, shayfris b'Shabbos mishari, are you allowed to use shayfris on Shabbos? Elalav ba'anenu. Right, we're going according to the first opinion, not Rabbi Yosef's opinion. And according to Rabbi Yosef, the first opinion, it must mean that they are davening, and they're saying anenu. Okay, we have at least the Tanakama that holds that anenu is considered hasra, is considered the calling out. So there is a support for that. B'shani the Rabbi Yehuda Nesiya, in the years of Rabbi Yehuda Nesiya Beitzara, there was some sort of Rabbi Yehuda Nesiya. It sounds like it's not Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, right? It sounds like it's his grandson. Otherwise, it would have said Gozar Tlas. What does it say? Let me see. Gozar Tlas Esri Taanis. He did 13 Taanis. 13 is 3, 3, and 7. V'layani, he wasn't answered. Savala Migzar Tfei, he wanted to add more. Amalei Rabami tells him, Hariyam Rein Matrichan ala Tzibiyas Midai. You can't do this to the community. Amar Rab Abba, Bereder of Chia Bar Abba. Rab Abba, the son of Rab Chia Bar Abba. So Rab Chia Bar Abba is a student of Rabbi Yechanan. Rab Ami da'avad legamehu da'avad. The reason why he said that was because he didn't want to fast. Rab Ami didn't want to fast. Alahachi Amar Rab Chia Bar Abba Amar Rabbi Yechanan. Who was saying this? This is Rab Abba, the son of Rab Chia Bar Abba, is now saying that my father, Rab Chia Bar Abba, said in the name of Rabbi Yechanan, Leishanu al Geshamim. Those increased fast, the added fast that you're not supposed to add after the 13, that's only for rain. However, However, you're allowed to fast. You're allowed to fast until Hashem answers. Tani nami hachi. Kshamru shalish, kshamru sheva, le'amra l'geshamim, aval shamri min pranis misanim v'holchan ad sheyanu. Until they're answered. Le'matevitiv Rabami. This sounds like it's a question on Rabami. Amlach Rabami Tanoi. Rabami says that it's a machlekes Tanoi. The Tanya and Goiz and Yosem Mishal says you Taanis Daf Tzibur. B'shein Matrichim al Esat Tzibur Yosem Midai Divrei Rebbe. Rebbe says that you can't add more than 13. Reb Shimon ben Gamliel Leimer, that's Rebbe's father. Leimer Hashem Uzeh. It's not so. It's not because of that we don't want to impose, that we don't want to bother the community. It's because the time of the rain has passed. Okay, so what does that tell me? That if it wasn't an issue of the rain, then we would have imposed more fast. The whole reason why we didn't impose more fast because of the rain. So according to Reb Shimon ben Gamliel, really you don't have more than 13 fasts on anything. Okay, this is a new piece, right? Is it a new paragraph over there? Yeah, let's leave it right.